older Manchester City fans will have seen their team go through challenging runs, but there'll be a new generation of City fans for whom this is uncharted territory.
Well, they can't win every single week, and they can't win the league, every single year. I mean, no one wants to see that, but I don't expect to see...
I think for all Man City's brilliance over the last few years, and Pep, one of the greatest managers ever, I think even with the last 5 minutes here, I bet he can't believe what he's seen. And I know they gave Leeds away in the Champions League here recently, 3-0 up, but to be 1-0 up with a few minutes ago against United, the 2-1, he'll be shell-shocked, Pep, and he's an experienced manager, a great manager, but he'll be shell-shocked to lose a game when you're... Were they coasting? I wouldn't go that far with the coasting. When it's one and you're still in with a chance, but they were comfortable.
And to put it into perspective, let's take a look at what's happened so far this weekend in the Premier League, because this was a real opportunity for Manchester City, because Arsenal were held to a 0-0 draw at home to Everton. Liverpool held to a 2-2 draw at home to Fulham. They dropped points, and Chelsea still to play this evening. Newcastle with a 4-0 victory against Leicester. Nottingham Forest with a 2-1 win against Villa, and Ipswich with that crucial and very late winner against Wolves. Super Sunday earlier today, a win for Crystal Palace, 3-1 at Brighton. We've just seen Manchester City lose that game late on against Manchester United by 2-1. As I say, Chelsea, the team really that are in the best place to take advantage of the teams at the top dropping points. Southampton against Tottenham also to come, and on the Monday Night Football, Bournemouth against West Ham. Remember, you can see the goals on the app and if you scan the QR code. And as Roy was saying, Manchester United still in the bottom half of the table. They go above Tottenham. They've got 22 points from their 16 games. But for Manchester City, at the top end of the table, a missed opportunity. They stay on 27 points. They are 9 points behind their leaders Liverpool, who have a game in hand. And Chelsea could stretch their league and go closer to the leaders if they get the victory against Brentford later on this evening. French, Italian and Spanish. Bruno Fernandes was very much trying to keep Amad Diallo's feet on the ground in that interview, and saying, we expect this from him every week. But he's done so well since Ruben Amorim has come in the 7 appearances. He's being
the biggest plus, I think, no doubt, for the new manager coming in, getting to work with the players from the start of the first game. Really, he's had a big impact. But the impact today and the winning the penalty and the goal and the finish certainly wasn't easy, and that just gave a player prepared to run forward as well. And also Bruno's chance came from somebody actually running forward, and a brilliant moment for him, and well deserved. He's got a bit of energy, he's got a bit of quality, young kid, learning his trade. Obviously you always worry, listen, hopefully he stays grounded, but a big afternoon for him.
He's also versatile as well, can he? He could play in the front three, he can play wing back. I think he's been the best player for Man United this season. Taking it all into consideration, new manager, how young he is, he's just 22 years of age. He was really good at Sunderland, scored a lot of goals. Could he make the step up? He's definitely made the step up. And yeah, I just enjoy watching him in terms of his endeavour, his work rate, the way he runs in behind, the way he's not afraid to go at somebody. How many times do we see wingers in today's football, they go to the line and they come back? He's not doing that. He's got that confidence and belief in himself that he can play at this level. So yeah,
the importance of running behind, and that was the key. Particularly, I know sometimes you have to gamble towards the end, but you need a bit of luck. But be prepared to run behind it. Listen, the way the game has changed a lot over the last few years, particularly for midfielders, everyone wants to come and get a feel for the ball and get touches. But you need people running beyond the ball, running beyond the striker, and that's where United created their best moments.
But it's just his composure as well.
Yeah.
The way he took his goal was just brilliant. The way so you see a lot of players, especially young players in that position, sort of snatch at it or rush it, but he took his time, he lifted it over, and then the finish, with conviction as well. Really good day.
We look for certain traits in a Man United player, obviously, and he looks like he's got that. He looks like he's comfortable in the jersey. We talked about pressure and recruitment over the last few years, and players can't find their feet playing for Man United. But he looks as if I'm okay being a Man United player.
I think the important thing though is just, I know Bruno was being sort of a party pooper there and we're talking about Agate, but just in terms of the pressure of Man United and staying at that level. We've talked about Garnacho at times. When he first came into the squad, I thought he was brilliant. And now, we've seen it with Amad Diallo. He just needs to keep his feet on the floor and do what he does best.
That's the key for any young player, obviously, coming to any big club. It's how you deal with now the expectation, the pressure, the importance he played today, contract situations, his family around him. Yeah, that goes for any young player playing for a big club. Just keep your feet in the ground.
Did you keep your feet on the ground?
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you?
Well, I'd want
Usually when he was slide tackling.
Are you sure about that?
I was drunk somewhere. No, you stay grounded. But you also say, I need the young kids tonight, but don't get me wrong, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Absolutely enjoy playing for Man United. And big moments like that, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you're a long time retired, so enjoy the good moments when you get them, because this is not as much fun as scoring the winner in a Manchester derby, and some of us know what that's like.
Managed to do it, yeah. Still living off it. No, great moments for you, honestly. Especially with 5-10 minutes ago. If someone said you thought United could win this 2-1, I know City were a little bit nervous toward the end and they were a bit negative with their passes and they brought the trouble on themselves. But for United to go on and win the game, huge result for them.
Well, were those nerves apparent in the way that they conceded the penalty? Because it was Ahmad who drew it as well, drew the foul.
Yeah, I mean, City today was just...
This is self-inflicted. Walker has to pass this forward to me. I really think he's got to go forward.
But we're talking about a midfielder sort of in the back line. But I think the way he composed himself, Ahmad, there, a lot of people would have snatched at it. He just took his time and drew the contact. And it's just about decision-making, just there.
But why doesn't he slow down the defender?
It's difficult because when you've made a mistake in that position, right...
But the keeper slowed him down,
You want to rectify your mistake. And I know what you're saying, but when you make a mistake, especially when you play the position that you're not...
But he's made a bad situation a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah,
you've made a mistake, you've got people getting back.
But you panic,
But I think Walker's got to play forward here. I think Walker's got to put it behind. 2 or 3 minutes left.
But that's maybe, as you were saying, about the way that City players are reacting to situations. You're talking about panic there, Micah.
Yeah, I think that's how they're playing at this moment in time.
That's exactly
no real composure. The panic at anything. Individual mistakes are costing them. And it's happened, week in, week out now. We've been saying this for the last, 11 games? We've got the win against Notts Forest. But it's just decision-making at the moment.
Self-inflicted, all of it. And then there was never a doubt he was going to score.
But he took it well.
Brilliant, yeah. I never in doubt he was going to score.
Because there was a lot of pressure on this penalty. And, Fernandes, I don't think it was his best game today, but in a high-pressure moment, he took it well.
Yeah. Particularly having missed a big chance just before that, which he alluded to in the interview. And then, OK, Diallo had won the penalty, but then he gets the winning goal.
But look at the run here. Running inside, he knows he's playing against Mateus Nunes. Guardiola was sort of going and playing midfield and trying to stop the 2 number 10s, and then it's just a brilliant finish. I mean, everything about it.
Look at his movement.
The timing, the pass.
It's simple.
It has to be perfect. And then this is the key bit, the touch there, and then the finish. To have the composure to do that at 22 years old in a derby.
It's Guardiola trying to backheel it off the line here.
He just gets his feet mixed up. He probably should go with his right foot. Obviously, he's left-footed. Tries to go with his right foot. Obviously, not comfortable. Can't sort his feet out quick enough.
That's not an easy
finish.
And
then he just tries to...
it's not an easy finish.
Yeah, he's facing towards the goal, so it is difficult.
The key was the first touch, It gives him a bit of a chance,
I mean, the way that he's developed under this manager, Ruben Amorim, who's come in, who has the reputation of being a manager who can develop young talent, actually can work with established talent, but also can develop young talent. How important is that going to be? You talk about him keeping his feet on the ground, but also just working on his game.
But I think that's why the manager probably got the job there. But look at his previous track record, obviously particularly at Lisbon, working with younger players and developing, and obviously maybe selling them on, which he had to do at Lisbon, maybe not so much at Man United. But obviously there's that raw talent there. He's been out in the Championship. Again, he's prepared to learn and go out and try new experiences. But then to come back and do it week in, week out for Man United, that's the big challenge for any player, to be consistent. Now, the beauty is United have had a really good day today. The fans are enjoying it. But they've got to turn up on Thursday night at Spurs now as well. That's the other challenge for a player. Yeah, enjoy it, but you've got to try and kick on now. I said before the game, this was a great game for Man United. There was really no expectation on him to get a result here today. So that might just be the spark they need for the manager, the staff. They needed a big moment. He's only been in the door a few weeks, but that just gives everyone a lift. We've seen the players' reaction at the end, and these are experienced players, and they're kissing the badge, and that's great. But when you come in tomorrow and you say, look, lads, we've got a big cup game on Thursday. Let's kick on now and use that. And what they have to get into their season is some momentum. They've not had it. It's been stop-start, hit and miss. Some really poor performances, giving daft goals away, but they created a spark themselves, a bit of self-destruction for Man City. You need a helping hand along the way, but now use it and bring it to Spurs on Thursday night. Turn up at Spurs and put in a spirited performance. They'll have to show better quality than what they did today, but they showed a way to they found a way to win today. Key.
Is that the key, just doing it for 90 minutes rather than moments in the game?
Yeah, of course, but maybe not ready for that. But if they get enough moments and defend a bit better, then they'll have a chance of winning the odd game.
Talking of defending better, they had to win from behind today because of Josko Gvardiol's opening goal. Just from a City perspective, first of all, Micah.
Yeah, I just think, it's well worked in terms of the short corner. Get a bit lucky with the deflection, but Gvardiol's in there. But then Roy wanted to mention defending of Man United.
Again? No, and the stats aren't great for United, giving up chances again. Maybe not. I just talk about players putting their bodies on the line, wanting to head the ball here. So they do have the bodies in there. Whatever about the movement, they've got a couple of players. I sometimes don't understand at this level. Players not reading the flight of the ball. How many times does a player get caught underneath? You've got to try and adapt. You've got to read the flight of the ball. Now, there was a slight deflection, but it didn't seem to bother the Man City player, did it?
When you look at the number of goals conceded from corners, Manchester United aren't quite top in terms of the actual numbers, but in terms of percentage of goals conceded, 42% of their goals have been from corners. You pointed out individual errors there, Roy. So is there anything there they can work on?
Well, there is. Well, they'll have to work on it. If this guy is as good as coach as he's made out, then that's an area he has to work on. And certainly it's an area where you think you can improve on. But it's not improved the last few weeks, so that's something they'll have to get in the training pitch. He's had a busy schedule, so he's going into games every 2 or 3 days, and he probably does need time on the training pitch. But I go back to your personalities on the pitch and your players and your big players. There still has to be that attitude. Whatever happens when the ball comes into the box, and you've got to multitask in the box. It can't be, well, I've got my man and someone's scoring in there. No, you've got to do multitask. If the ball comes in, I still have him, but I can go ahead it. There's not enough people, I think, who want to go and head the ball for Man United. And we see Diallo misses it there, and he's got his arms up in the air. And I've seen him do that a few times. Actually, just go in the header. Go in the header. And if they're, people say, well, Arsenal a few weeks ago at set pieces, and Arsenal are really aggressive. Well, let me tell you, you be aggressive. You be aggressive. You try and hold people off, and you're going to attack the ball. It's only one ball. Just go and win it.
Micah?
Yeah, I think you can improve on set pieces. I mean, what has conceded 8 from corners and 4 since Amorim's come in. It's just one of those things where you can't let the confidence go once you're conceding from corners. I think winning here today will give them a lift, but that is something you can work on. You can all work on it.
To go to Forest, it was a Forest last week. People getting free headers in the 6-yard box. If people take a short corner, there's a bit of movement to do something, all right. But this is one ball straight into the box. De Bruyne's ball today, obviously, a short one. It got a slight deflection, but there still has to be that attitude about players. We go back to it. There's certain players who have that desire and determination to go and head it, and others are, I hope it hits me. I hope I get my head to it. Instead of believing and going, when that ball comes into my area, I'm going to win it.
Just timing, though, isn't it?
A bit of
timing on the training pitch sorts that out.
And timing of the ball, just reading. As I said, some players don't seem to read the flight of the ball. They seem to be underneath it, or they can't get.
Yeah, but don't forget that United have changed their back three, as it were, many times. I think we talked about Palace earlier with that cohesion and that chemistry. That will come, and if they want to be a proper team in this league, they're going to have to sort that out.
Yeah, for Manchester United, a significant win, a huge win for them against Manchester City, but still room for improvement. For Manchester City, it's yet another difficult interview for a City player after a game. This time it's Bernardo Silva talking to Patrick Davison. 8 defeats in the last 11 for Manchester City, and things have stopped being shocking in terms of their defeats. Is that shocking that since November the 1st, Manchester City have the fewest points per game than any other team in the Premier League?
Yeah, I would say it's shocking. They're the shadow of the team that they were. I mean, I said it before the game, there's not enough players playing well. Haaland was doing all right. He was scoring goals. A lot of players need to chip in. Guardiola got his 4th goal of the season. But it's just not good enough. Bernardo said it there in his interview. The decision-making look like they've got a lack of confidence. And it's not, you can lose to Man United. We've seen this before. But it's the way they are losing games. 2 minutes, 88 minutes and 90 minutes. You should be able to see out a game. And that is the difference with Man City. They're not getting tight enough. They're getting run through the midfield. They're not tracking runners. All the basic things that have been so good with Man City, they're just not doing here. So Roy mentions Kyle Walker. Yes, the option is to go. So Núñez makes it a decision there to go back, and that's fine. But once he gets into this position now, he's just got to be calm. There's people around, and he makes a rash decision. And I know it's not his fault in terms of the whole night. He's playing left back. He's a midfielder. He's had to do a job for the team. But you can't make these individual errors and want to fight for the league. And it's happening week in, week out. And yeah, if you look at the second goal here, I mean, give the ball away, no pressure on the ball. We're used to Man City going really high. Foden doesn't get tight, run off Guardiola. I don't know what Ederson's doing there. Misses a flight of the ball, and then Guardiola off the line. All the things that Man City are normally so good at, they're just not doing. And it's been a theme now. You know, we was talking about a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was a blip. Jamie Carragher called it a crisis, and I actually think it is a crisis now, because there's no way you can have this much quality on the field and lose games like this, especially of this great importance as well, in a derby. And they did okay in terms of possession, edged the possession a little bit, but they've just got no guile, they've got no grit. It's too easy to play against them at this moment in time.
And he's chopped and changed the goalkeepers recently. I think the keeper's got to do better there.
Yeah.
For the second goal. Before you'd see him be on the edge of the box, starting position, he'd be aggressive with his play. No, he's caught
It's
no
hard to criticise Man City at times because they've done so well. You win 4 leagues in a row, but they've just dropped off it. They've dropped off it. You always expected them to come back or put a run together. At this moment in time, they look far away from anything like that. And yeah, it's when I'm talking about Man City, I can't believe what I'm seeing. You know, we're talking about 1 win in 11, and I keep repeating myself because I actually can't believe what I'm seeing with my own eyes, and a team which was so good. Yes, we can blame Rodri, I think, early stages, the way he controls games. Yes, Rodri is a vital member of this side, the way they want to set up. Kovacic has been injured, it comes on, but it's just too easy. It's more than just one player now, it's a collective.
I think they'll be more shell-shocked after this game than the previous. I know they're on a bad run, but this will take a while to recover from this one.
Really interesting, particularly towards the end there with Ruben Amorim's comments, which we will get to. Gary Neville has joined us in the studio. Before we get into the details, though, Gary, thoughts on the game, on the victory, on the importance of the victory?
Glow, haven't you? Pick and choose when you want to come into the studio.
I have been here enough times, by the way, where you've been that little smirk on your face. No, I mean, everyone was shell-shocked at the end. I said a line that United didn't play particularly well in the game. I thought the centre-half did an half-decent job, but City were trying to crawl over the line with the way in which the game was finishing. But Ahmad has gripped the game by the scruff of the neck. You know, not giving in, closing down that pass from Núñez, and then obviously making the run at the end. That bit of quality is the one shining light. I think along with Mazraoui, both of those played with a real fearlessness and a real sort of spirit that I would expect. And you get out in life what you put in, and you know, he's been the star player and he's been rewarded tonight, that young kid. And for Ruben Amorim, it's a huge victory. I mean, particularly off the back of making those 2 big decisions of leaving Garnacho and Rashford at home. You know, to see, you know, the kid that obviously is replacing them, they would have started definitely in front of Ahmad in the last 2 years. So, no, it's a big day for Ruben Amorim. It should give the players also a lot of confidence.
Yeah, again, we will come to that in just a second. But for Amorim and the results that he's had so far, he's only a month in, so there aren't going to be wholesale changes for Manchester United. But when you look at the games, when you look at the performances, how would you assess that when you factor in a derby win at the Etihad?
It obviously looks a lot better now after today, but that, you know, if that game had 5 minutes on and they lose the game, it would have been 3 Premier League defeats on the bounce, and the team they played on Thursday night were bang average. So, you know, it's that fine line still. I don't think he'll get carried away tonight. In fact, he's not. We've just heard from him. I think he's quite businesslike.
But there's getting carried away, and then there's just enjoying the moment, isn't there?
Enjoying the moment and understanding that sometimes you just need something to happen in football to give you a spark that can make the dressing room believe in you, make the dressing room have faith in you. And I think, like you said, I'm going to come back to those 2 being left at home. You know, there will have been the rest of the dressing room will have been thinking, hang on a minute, you've left Garnacho and Rashford at home, 2 of our best players. That's a big call. But when you go and win, you ain't half empowered as a manager, and he will feel so empowered tonight.
Go on then. What do you think about his reasons for doing that, and what it says about their future?
I don't know about their long-term future, but what it's really clear is he's mentioned engaging with teammates. He's mentioned standards. So he's given us clues, emphatic clues as to what's happened in the last few days, that they've been, you know, moping and not doing their bit around the training ground, engaging with their teammates properly, and standards in training. And he's thought, no, I'm not having it. I'm not accepting it. And good on him, because for far too long we've seen players mope around that pitch and still continue to get a game and, oh, he's on the bench today. No, it's got to be non-negotiable. If you don't give your all in your job, you're gone. You're out. That's it. That's not just actually as a football player. That's a plumber, electrician, anybody in life. If you don't give your very best and you don't, look like you're enthused every single day. And we've said for years, we've been sat in this studio for years as Manchester United ex-players saying, just give your absolute all and the players not running back. We've seen Rashford and Garnacho for years stand up on that left and right wing, not chase back when fullbacks have gone past them and keep their place in the team. No more.
You must feel sorry for them, though, a little bit. Maybe for Rashford, homegrown player.
Micah, I want Marcus Rashford and Garnacho to come back stronger, take the message that they've been given this morning by going training at the training ground on a Sunday when no one else is there. I want them to take this in the right spirit and become the very best players for Manchester United. But what's really clear, I don't care who you are, whether you're Andrei Kanchelskis, Ryan Giggs, David Beckham, Nani, whoever you are as a wide player at Manchester United, you've got to run that way as fast as you can, you've got to run back that way as fast as you can. And then the rest of it, to be fair, they've got the talent and they've got the ability. But if they don't do that, there's no place for you in the club, there's no place for you in the team.
But do you think Rashford's a little... No, I just feel like every time we're talking about Man United and I think Rashford is a little bit of a scapegoat at times.
Don't hone in on Rashford. Don't hone in on Rashford. Don't try and move the...
I'm not because...
Don't try and move it. Garnacho and Rashford have sulked for the last few weeks.
Yes, but hold on. But Garnacho's not gone to the same level as Rashford before. Rashford scored 30 goals 2 seasons ago. So I'm talking about a player who can do it at the top level when he's playing well. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying it seems sometimes at Man United... It's always Rashford's
Do we know United's running stats? I bet United would be one of the lowest teams.
They are. Yeah. They're one of the lowest teams in the league. Micah, to be honest with you, I hear this. You're focusing on Marcus Rashford. I prefer to look at both of them. But if we want to talk about Marcus Rashford, he's on, I think, the highest wage in the club apart from Casemiro. To be fair, Casemiro just got a wonderful contract. He's on 350 grand a week, reportedly. Right? He's a star player who has scored 30 goals. With that comes the scrutiny and expectation of being one of the best players. Whether you were Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United, whether you were Roy Keane, whether you were Wayne Rooney, whether you were David Beckham, whether you were the star player of any era, Eric Cantona, more had to be demanded of you than Gary Neville at right back. Let's be clear. If I don't play well, not many people are going to talk about it. If Roy Keane does something bad, or if David Beckham does something bad, or if Marcus Rashford does something bad, that is where they're the big players. They get the most money for a reason. So if he's not working back, if he's not playing well, if he's not looking like he's enjoying himself, right, he then something has to happen. This is very good for Marcus Rashford today. I see this as a real positive. I think Ruben Amorim has said tonight, next week we start with a clean slate. Training starts again. I hope Marcus Rashford is playing on Thursday night against Tottenham. I really do. And I hope he goes and scores 2 or 3 goals and he fights for every single pass and every single ball. But he's not been doing that.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's... I'm just giving an alternate view.
What's the alternate view?
The alternate view is from sometimes outside of Man United, whenever there's problems, Rashford gets the blame.
Right, Micah.
That's my... I'm not saying with a new manager.
Micah.
Obviously, he's got his reasons why he's left him out, him and Garnacho. I'm just talking historically with Man United, Rashford seems to get the blame.
Micah, Harry Maguire has been butchered at this football club for 3, 4, 5 years. David De Gea was hammered a few years ago, for mistakes. They're not the only ones to have had a difficult time. Di Maria was chased and hounded out of the club after about 8 months. There are players in the last 10 years. Bruno gets a horrific time at times off us and off other fans and off the media. There are loads of players at that club who've been absolutely hammered.
You mentioned a good example earlier about we played with some brilliant wide players, particularly Ryan Giggs and David Beckham. Whether you like them or not, doesn't matter. These players were brilliant going forward, brilliant Man United players. And sometimes you need examples, and we're talking about the 2 wide players who've been left out today. Ryan Giggs and David Beckham were brilliant players, brilliant going forward. But you speak to anyone who's played with them or played against them, and they ran back, and they had to run back because we wouldn't have tolerated it. So if this idea of playing football, if it was all just about running forward, football would be great.
Is there something deeper going on? Players don't just run back, do they? There must be something going on
De Bruyne,
within what they're going through, or the manager. I don't know. Rashford just doesn't run back for no reason,
Micah,
does he?
right, let's look at Bernardo Silva, let's look at Phil Foden, let's look at David Silva, let's look at Kevin De Bruyne, let's look at the players who've played for your team over the last 7 or 8 years, who are the most beautiful players, some of the most beautiful players we've ever seen in this league. They work like dogs. They work like League Two midfield players.
What's the difference? They've had a constant manager who set the standards and they all buy into it.
Well,
at times, Man United don't know where they are. They've chopped and changed it. They've relied on Rashford. When his form's good, he's a hero. And then sometimes when it's not going too well, he gets a lot of the...
You need a coach and manager to get you to run?
No, you shouldn't do, but I'm just giving an alternate view.
Micah, what about Ahmad then? So Ahmad today, right, Manchester United have been the most woeful. This is the worst Manchester United team that have ever started a Premier League season. But that kid is 22 years of age, right? There's ownership issues, there's sporting directors leaving, they're losing more goals from corners, they're shipping everything badly, and that kid runs around that pitch like it hurts. So tell me why he can.
It's different though for Rashford. He's got the world on his shoulders. It's pressure. You know what it's like coming into a team as a kid. When you come in, you run around. For me, it looks like Rashford just got the world on his shoulder. It seems to me like there's a bigger problem than just football.
Micah, I played with David Beckham, with Wayne Rooney,
yeah, but
with Roy Keane.
You keep talking about... We're talking about the current Man United.
The pressure that Marcus Rashford is under is nothing like the pressure that David Beckham or Roy Keane
but look at your squad. The names you've just reeled off, all serial winners. This Man United team are not all serial winners.
We weren't winners at the start, Micah. You had to earn the right to win football.
Exactly what I'm saying, but I'm saying that you put Rashford in you lot's era.
Well, you should a Rashford. I'm on any Man United player, any white player. If the players weren't running back, Kinchelski, Sharpie, all these boys, they wouldn't be tolerated. They wouldn't be allowed. They wouldn't be in the team by the manager and the staff, but by the players. It wouldn't have been acceptable. But it seems to be whatever goes on at the training ground, the culture, far too long. Whatever Rashford and Garnacho, whatever bits they weren't doing, they seem to have been. That's okay. We'll tolerate it. Let's new manager.
I'm agreeing with it. I understand. The managers come in.
Let's transfer.
Not seeing what he's liked and made a decision. Okay, I think that's fine. But I'm just saying historically.
Let's transfer it away from what we think.
Okay.
Why has Ruben Amorim, a 39-year-old young coach from Sporting Lisbon, come in, worked with 2 players who are extremely talented for 2 weeks, and thought, I don't even want you in my matchday squad? Tell me why. Why has he done that?
Because when he was at Sporting and his way of playing with a new system. They want their front three to work as hard as possible. Rashford, unfortunately, we don't know if he's a number 9, if he's going to play a 10, is he going to play a wing back? And I'm not defending Rashford. I'm just saying that the reason the manager even said it was tactically a couple of things that he didn't like, maybe attitude. We don't know that. I'm not going to say.
Micah, we know what Ruben Amorim said. He said he looked at them in training. He said he didn't think they trained as well as the players who were in the squad, not just the 11. But in the squad. And before the match, he said we didn't like the way, or we evaluated a lot of things, including the way how they engaged with their teammates. So he did tell us why he was leaving both players, both Garnacho and Rashford, out of not just the team,
how would you feel as a player?
But out of the squad.
If a manager mentions that about you as a player after a match and gave them little signals, and you're left out of a first team squad, not that you've been put on the bench in a big game, in a derby game against Man City. And you heard these noises coming up, what he might think about you, you'd be ashamed of your life.
It's not great.
He might come along and say, tactically, I'm leaving you, or you might be carrying a knock, but they come up with these noises and saying they were training too small, whatever the training ground, that's fine. Obviously, they have to keep on top of their fitness, but to get these messages to people who are listening, and he knows what he's doing, this manager. He's smart. He's a smart cookie. And he has got a bit of power now because they've won the game, and he can get these messages out to the players going, I'm the new manager, and I'll make these decisions. But for them players sitting at home, by the way, they must be sitting there going, oh, my good God, I'm embarrassed if that's what he's saying about me, about my attitude and the way I engage with my teammates.
So do you think he's done the right thing by leaving them out the squad and by talking about it in the way that he has?
Of course, he's had to make big decisions. That's what he's done. He's in the door 3 or 4 weeks, and he's not. Again, his eyes don't lie to him. He's looking at the players. Results haven't been great. And obviously, these 2 players aren't on their own in terms of their performances. But if he's on about attitude, the way they train, then you do say to him, and I suppose the time to do it is in a big game. Because you go, listen, it will grab a few headlines like it did before the game. He knew what he was doing. He gets to win. But hopefully, also, the other side of the man management is going, but you're also, lads, you've made a mistake. You've got to liven up. I will have you back in the squad, but I need a reaction from you. That's what sport is about. Will you get a reaction from these 2 players? We'll wait and see over the next week or 2.
Kelly, how do you change a culture? We talk about culture in a football club. Who are the 2 best players at Manchester United in terms of attacking players? Marcus Rashford and Garnacho. They're the two players, without a shadow of a doubt, that you would look at and say are Manchester United's best two attacking players.
Best of the bad bunch, Gary. Best of the bad bunch.
They are, but they're the very best that Manchester United have at this moment in time. Marcus has scored 30 goals. Garnacho's come onto the scene and ripped it up for a couple of years and looks like a real potential star. If those two players, as the stars, are setting a bad standard and not engaging with their teammates correctly, you either have to do one of two things. You try and shirk it as a manager, which many would have done. You try and put them on the bench and say, OK, I'm just leaving them out and I'm resting them and they can play in bigger way. Or you can make a real statement and say, I'm sorry, I'm not accepting it or tolerating it, no matter who it is, even if it's the most talented players on the most money. And that's what he's done today. Now, Manchester United didn't play well today, let's be really clear. But the bold decision that the manager has made, and the kid who, to be fair, has played the game like it should be played, have got their rewards for being bold. And that's why I am happy tonight. Because we cannot keep year after year watching Manchester United being dross. They've lost 15 games away now on the bounce in away games against big teams. They lose goals from corners. They don't come back from behind. There is a mentality and cultural problem in the team and in the dressing room. But tonight may just help them. They'll feel empowered and stronger tonight than they've ever felt probably in the last few years because of big decisions have been made.
Yeah, but it's sad that it's took the manager to make that decision for him to be a new manager in the door. That should be taken care of. That should be put to bed when players who aren't training properly and showing a bad attitude aren't running back. The dressing room should get a grip of that. That's another concern, that it's took a new manager to come and go, that won't be tolerated. That should have been dealt with months ago because some of these players have been training and behaving like that for a long time and they've been let get away with it. But fair play to the new manager.
And just look at that run of the last 11 results from October the 30th and that defeat by Tottenham. And games in there, like the game against Feyenoord, in which they were 3-0 up and went on to draw that 3-3. Again, it was a late turnaround in that match. The game against Crystal Palace, the defeat by Juventus in midweek, followed by that late defeat by Manchester United in the derby at the Etihad today. Here's Pep Guardiola with Pat Davison. Is he not good enough anymore?
Oh, come on, yeah. I mean, he's just taking the pressure off the players. I think he's making it about him, and all good managers do that. I think they are off it a lot, and he's trying to find the words that make it make sense. But at the moment, he can't, because you've still got the quality on the pitch. They're just off it, whether it's going to close it down, whether it's tracking runners. He mentioned Nunes playing left-back. It's difficult. Maybe he could have gone with Guardiola at left-back and put young Poussey. John Stones was on the bench. But he has got some injuries, you know. Aki's out, Akanji's out as well. Rico Lewis suspended. I don't want to make excuses. I think he's fronted up and said, at the moment, it's not good enough, and that's just the truth.
I think the question that Pat asked him and didn't quite get to the... Pep Guardiola didn't quite get to the nub of it is how it's happened. And not... Look, there will be a drop-off, but it's the size of the drop-off. It's the drop-off from being treble winners, from being four-time title winners, to going to the point where they then lose 8 games in 11 across all competitions in this short space of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's spectacular that they've lost so many games and it's so bad a run. But I don't think it's that surprising that they've hit a wall. These players have won 4, 5, 6 titles. They've kept going. They've been so consistent, so reliable. They've played every summer. They've played every competition, it feels like, 50, 60, 70 games a season, and they've just grown together and hit a wall together at the wrong moment where they're picking up injuries. They've lost the legs together. They've lost the confidence together. And, you know, it's just perspective. I'm sure that in the dressing room he's reminding them of the fact that these are serial champion players. So you can't sit here and say it's a disgrace, it's a joke. These are players who have achieved so much and they just hit a wall together. Now, we wouldn't expect them to lose 8 in 11. You'd expect them to drop off in a certain season because it happened at all clubs, whether it be Liverpool in the 70s or United in the 90s and 2000s. You always have that season where it's one too far, and that's what this is for City. And they're in that moment and they just have to accept that. But, you know, he's taking the pressure off them, but they've proven what they can do over a period of time. It just needs a mini reconstruction.
How do you overcome that? You lot played in some successful teams consecutively.
Do they need a mini holiday, Gary?
Mini retirement.
Do you know something? Sometimes it's just time. I mean, it's just time and maybe bringing 3 or 4 in, losing 2 or 3, look at a spark in the dressing room. Maybe in the recruitment in the last 2 or 3 years, they've been maybe a little bit sort of... Complacent's the wrong word, but sometimes you can think that this...
Happy with what they had.
Yeah, and I think maybe, you know, you lose Mahrez, you lose Sterling, you obviously maybe the players who've come in haven't been as good.
Alvarez
as well. So just things like that. If they got 2 or 3 of those back and basically lost a couple, you'd end up with City being back near the very top again. They've hit a wall together, and I think that's the moment they're in.
But it's to Micah's question, it's that sense of you get the drop off after a treble-winning season, but then how do you get back on track?
Well, that's the big question that Pep's got to face now. He's an unbelievable manager, his experience at the previous clubs, and he's been under pressure before, of course. But this certainly looks like his biggest challenge at the moment because, yeah, there is injuries, but the recruitment hasn't been great over the last year or two for Man City. They've left brilliant players go to the door. You've mentioned a couple, but Palmer. So they've got it wrong with the recruitment. They probably have left a few players go. You're going, do you know what, maybe could have held on to them a little bit longer. But them decisions are made. It's now about fixing it. What does Pep do? There's a lot of their big players. Obviously, Rodri being the main one. He won't be back till next season. Is it a case of January, as brilliant as a coach as Pep is, he's probably looking, we need some better players in. You run about the players who were missing. Like, a lot of them were playing on this difficult spell. I'm not sure they're all the answers. These lads coming back, people like Lewis, there's question marks over them. But go back into that transfer market in January. But having said that, it's never easy getting players in January. So maybe they just have to regroup, stick at it, survive for the next few months, get a few victories. Tough games coming up, obviously. They've got to Villa next week. It's not going to get any easier. And almost get to the summer and move players on like De Bruyne, these players who've been brilliant for the club. But it looks like they have hit that brick wall. They're a little bit older. They're out of contract. Is rebuild the right word? Possibly so in the summer.
In '99 we won the treble and then we won the league the year after, and then in 2001 we won the league again. But in the March, I think it was, of that year, we got knocked out of the Champions League by Bayern Munich. And Roy did an interview after the game. You can probably watch it on Google if you want to, where he actually ripped into the players in the dressing room and said maybe this team's come
to the... That bad, Carol.
He did. He said maybe this team's come to the end of its road. They've got the fancy cars now, they've got the watches, they've basically won all the titles. Maybe it's a case of a revamp required. I remember the interview. It was a harsh interview at the time.
I remember the interview.
And I remember being in that dressing room thinking, is he talking about me? Is he talking about him? You all think that, something's happening, but you're coming to the end of a road a little bit where you just can't go any further. And that's what this team is at, and that's where this team is at now. They've just come to the end of this cycle where they've been unbelievable, and maybe it's just that little bit of a dip, and they just need to get back up, and they've got a great manager who I'm sure will get them there. So it feels a little bit like things that we have seen before, but you still don't expect them to lose 8 in 11. That's the shot.
It's great to see Pep like that, isn't it? It's great to see Pep like a normal manager, because usually he comes out and he's won a game and we're looking and we're all praising him. But it's nice to see Pep going, we know you're a brilliant manager, but we're all intrigued over the next few months, a year or two, to see.
So how is it, you've been in that position as a manager, when things are not going right, what do you do? What do you change?
Well, obviously I didn't change anything, that's why I'm here. I should be managing somebody. No, but we talk about the standards. Listen, I was manager of Sunderland, Ipswich. Listen, they were tough jobs, and obviously you're trying to reinvent, just have the same principles, get players in, get players out, whatever. But we've never seen Pep in this situation, and he's been under pressure before, obviously his big jobs. But to see him so, again, he's literally scratching his head. And I mean, that he's just been like almost damaging himself to trying to get to the bottom of it. And he will sit with his staff tomorrow morning or tonight, and they'll have a drink, and they will be looking at each other going, how do we fix this? And that's the big challenge for Pep over the next few months.
Where are they in the league, by the way, right now?
And
they would have gone, where would they have gone today? They'd gone within 6
points.
Gary, I think it was the way they lost again,
with
5 minutes to go. That just reflected where they are as a team and as a club. I've said it many times before. The standards City have set the last few years, absolutely amazing, fantastic. I thought the drop-off would have been a lot earlier. So I've nothing but praise for the team, for Pep, obviously, and the players. But it doesn't mean to say that you can't turn a blind eye to these problems. He's now got to fix these problems, and it's a big ask when you see where Chelsea are going. Obviously Liverpool are back, Arsenal are obviously still a good team. You hope United will bounce back in the next year or two. So it's a huge challenge for him.
He'll get it right.
Yeah.
Sometimes a group of people just run out of steam together, and it's happened for us today. That is it from us. Let's take a look at what else is coming up for you on Sky Sports. Of course, the live sport does not stop, and in fact, the Premier League action is not finished for this weekend. Bournemouth against West Ham is the Monday Night Football with Thierry Henry as the special guest. 6:30 Sky Sports Premier League for that one. But that's it from us on a day where the Manchester derby more than delivered, at least for the red half of Manchester.